and on trails and third. So why is this important? This is important for me because when you're getting out in nature, it's a calming element to your life. You need to take time to spend out in nature. And so we're actually going to be taking this trail less traveled by me over here on the right side and talk about some things. So I think this is very important to get out and to do when you have an opportunity to get out as we start walking on the trail, because like I said, it lets you get back in tune with nature and gives you time to be alone, to be with your own thoughts. And I have noticed that a lot of people don't necessarily like being alone with themselves. So if you're one of those type of people, getting out and doing a nice nature trail walk or a hike can be a significant movement in your thinking. You're thinking on the world, your thinking capacity, and just getting back with your DNA when it comes to nature and how we have evolved in nature as human beings. So I like coming out to these trails a lot because there's a lot of things that you can kind of separate from or get away from when you're talking about the everyday life of just living, working, things of that nature. This is a great way to do that. I'm currently not in corporate America anymore, so I've actually found even more time to do a lot more things, and it has really helped me a tremendous amount to come out here to think about things, because when you're making significant changes in your life, it's not always easy, and no one said it would be, but at the same time this can definitely help with that. So let's walk a little bit, talk a little bit, and see what nature has to offer for us today. So you have little barriers that were set up here not to cross. I don't know if someone broke that or they said now it's good to go that way. But we're gonna do what we're doing. So this nice little rope bridge. So as we're walking, right, one of the things you want to do first of all is understand your body. Make sure you have plenty of water with you, snacks if you need them, obviously, if you're going to be gone for a while. Maybe you're going to make a day of it. But just making sure that you're in the right mental mindset or mind state is going to be very important, because you definitely want to get everything that nature has for you for the time that you're going to be in there or be out here at it. The birds are singing this morning. Now here at this place, the only thing I think that interrupts it for me is that you can still hear the city element. You can still hear, cars driving by and, the planes overhead, and I'm sure we're running across some people, but that should be natural for us in nature, right? But those other man-made things sometimes can take away from the experience, just depending on, where you're going. And if you're not out somewhere that's away from city life and things of that nature, there's a trail going back that way. Matter of fact, let's go through there. So this is gonna cause us to stoop down and do some things, which we don't mind. A little bit of my background, I served in the Army for 20 years. So I'm used to being out in the woods and things of that nature. And plus, I grew up in the country here in Texas. So that's not a problem. Okay, this is a little backward trail that leads into one of the roads that are closed off. So we're gonna get on the road, go back down here to the left, and we should pick up another trail. But sometimes it's good getting off the beaten path. People get, you know, you doing it for the first time, you may get wary or scared of that, but you know, I have a pretty good sense of direction. So make sure you got a pretty good sense of direction and know where you're at all times when you're out here walking around. See, and you just never know what nature will bring up, or what, you know, you're doing this kind of activity will bring up in your mind. So I was just thinking about, you know, fatherhood and how I was raised compared to, you know, what I may or may not be doing with my children as they're being raised. So for me, it may be different from some of you, but for me, grew up as an only child. You know, and they got all these statistics and stuff they say about only children and all that stuff. You know, people who are raised that don't have brothers and sisters in their life. Now, I do have half brothers and sisters, things of that nature, but as far as my mother, it was just me. And so growing up, you know, without that father figure definitely has its challenges, but it also can become a strength if cultivated right, with the right mental capacity, because, you know, as a man growing up like that, everything that you had to learn, you learned on your own from that side of perspective. So it's a lot of trial and error. And so what I like to do is take all those trials and errors that I experienced and pick those things out that will help hopefully make it easier for my children. And that's not always an easy task, because they can't see as far as you have seen when it comes to the things you experienced. So the trust has to be there, you know, the love has to be there, and demonstrated in all capacities. But I try to do that to the best of my ability. Now, it doesn't always go like I want it to, but at the same time, I know those are things that are needed, and it's for the benefit of my children, because if there's anybody loving your children more than you do, then that's something you should be out here on this nature trail walking around figuring out. And then, so I'm telling you, I love being out here. So if you ever get tired when you're out here, you know, because it's a repetition of just keeping your feet moving, just remember your energy. Just remember your engine. Take that oxygen, the air that you need, in your nose and out your mouth. Think about your heart rate. Make sure you're filling those lungs up every once in a while, getting a good expanse of the lungs. Inhale, exhale. Keep the oxygen flowing to your muscles, because that's the energy you're using right now. And you want to make sure that they have everything they need to do what you want them to do for you as you're traveling. Now, let me tell you another interesting thing I was talking to my wife about. I've been on this big kick about understanding of self and doing the work that's required, which is basically therapy, right? It's like we're on drugs and therapy today. And so one of the questions I really like to ask people, because, you know, on the surface it seems simple and readily easy to answer, but it's not. And that question is simply this: who are you? What is your purpose? and how are you doing? The who are you part, that can be interesting, because see, what I notice is people will do, my wife too, myself as well, will talk about their role as who they are. So like my wife said yesterday, wife and mother, right? And then she thought about it a little bit more, than a wife and mother and friend, right? So the more we think about this, you guys might hear a lot of wind as I'm going through here. It's been pretty windy the last couple of weeks. But the more we think about this, the more things you'll open yourself up to. And that's why it's important to do. Because, you know, when you categorize yourself as such, sometimes that can be so rigid, and it doesn't leave for room for you to really see the other aspects of yourself. And sometimes, you know, well, I'm not going to say sometimes, I'm going to say all the time, you really need that person that's a friend, you know, a spouse, a loved one that you can talk to, that's going to give you honest feedback. Because I have a great friend who tells me all the time, sometimes you just need to hear the stuff going in your ears. Now you know it, but it's different when they're going in your ears from someone else. This little hill challenge. We're gonna try to climb this hill right here right quick. Maybe get us a different perspective and see where this trail goes. So when you hear that stuff going in your ears, sometimes you start to realize, wow, I'm more than what I thought I was. And why do I sell myself short? And then you gotta also understand is it you selling yourself short? Does media, social media have something to do with that? Or not? Because it definitely can get really interesting. Okay, we're gonna go down this hill now. So what does it mean when I say you could be selling yourself short? That all comes back to understanding your value. So what do you see as your value? What's your value add? What is your time worth? What is that? To begin to understand that process, you're gonna have to know who you are. To fully know who you are as well, you gotta remember, it's simply from your perspective until you get other people to comment on it and give you their perspective of you. Take a little sip of water. I'm wearing a Camelback, which is basically just a backpack that has water inside with a tube that allows you to drink directly from it. Okay, so now we're kind of off the beaten trail, as you can see, so that means we're gonna make our own. And this is not a time for you to be fearful or anything of that nature, especially when you know where you are. So if you're inside of a little natural or nature park, something that was made for the exact purpose, you're fine. Just keep exploring. Because as you're exploring, think about all of the energies that are being sent to your brain, all of the information that's being sent. So it's like, because you're in nature, maybe different things are being awakened in you, and you definitely have to pay attention, because I just ran across some stickers. I think I'm gonna go down through this gully and back up on the other side. What do you guys think? I'm asking you like you're here. So let's make this happen. Because I can guarantee you a lot of people will be afraid of this. And like I said, you really need to know what you're working with when it comes to nature, your times of year, you know, the creatures that are out, you know, things that could be possibly a danger to you. And you can use your surroundings too, like me grabbing hold of this tree to pull myself up out of here. All right, let's continue. So, I think where I left off is you got to hear stuff going in your ears as well. But where does your therapy start? Where does the therapy begin? Knowing of self, right? We already covered that. But let's go a little further. Because knowing yourself is going to entail possibly a lot of things that you don't want to cover out of your past. And the way you look at those things is going to matter as well, right? Because it's easy, I shouldn't say that, it's very easy to look at things from a negative standpoint. Super easy to do that. But as you learn, you will quickly figure out that even what you consider the negative things have lessons of learning in them. So we are here to learn through those lessons. And see, we just came across another trail. So once you keep exploring, you're gonna find new and different things. And here we are across another trail. So as I was saying, the understanding of self needs to come first. Dealing with whatever traumas, childhood as an adult, understanding it, understanding the lessons learned from it are key as well. And when you're out on these trails, it's a great place to connect with that, as we're doing today. I don't know if you guys can see that, but a little water over to our right. That's actually Eagle Mountain Lake. And we'll probably go down to the shoreline at some point. You see those woodpeckers? Let's take a little detour. And here we are. You can really see those white caps as you land this up. Probably anywhere between 17, 20 miles an hour winds. White caps on the lake. I do have a boat, I do fish. Haven't done it in a while, but definitely do not fish in this type of environment. this windy anyway. You know, some boaters will come out if you like to get into a little cove on the lake and do it that way, but we're not doing anything like that anytime soon. All right, let's continue. pole that you've broken down. So you come out here and you hike a little bit, go fishing, pet if you have one. But there's a lot of different things that you can do and enjoy in nature while undergoing your personal mental therapy. Now, I'm not going to say this is the end all be all or a substitute for professional help, but I do definitely think there are things that we can do on our own for ourselves, as well as getting help from those professionals. And I'm telling you, this is a great way to do it. So if you're of the type, and you know, we all are types, right, that don't like being alone when you're doing things, start to figure that out and ask yourself, what is it that I do not like about being alone? Because I will tell you, as we try not to get poked by any stickers, get back on the trail, I will tell you, we're gonna go back this way. I will tell you that you came in this world alone. Even if you was twins, someone came first. And so being alone or being afraid to be alone is definitely something that should be explored as well. Just checking my phone right quick to make sure I'm still on the go. We are. There are a lot of deer and stuff out here, so we may run across those. I mean, I'm chomping through these leaves and stuff, but because this is almost like a little reserve, the deer aren't really that timid, and you can spot them grazing and get pretty close and get some pretty good pictures and shots. For sure. So, all right, we made it back to the trail, and we're gonna go to the right. Let's go explore some more. Another thing, and then we'll get back into it. When you're out here, or when you're going on these trails, make sure you have some good shoes, some good hiking shoes, things that are comfortable for you. Know what type of trail you're on. Is it a flat, you know, like an asphalt concrete surface, you know, where bike riders and things like that? Or is it this type of trail where you would need a little better foot protection, grip, things of that nature? Obviously the weather makes a huge difference as well. You know, it'll be raining and muddy, but I will tell you, I've had some of the best experience in the rain. It's just something about it, being in nature. So let's get back to self, knowing self. So as I was saying earlier, I was talking to my wife about all these things, and now, you know, one of the things that's gonna be common, you know, with people that can be true to each other and love each other, is you might get some of that truth that you wasn't suspecting. For me, it's not that case, but I'm just saying it just in case you do. But, you know, what do you do when your significant other says they don't know themselves, or they don't fully understand their purpose? And it might not be too hard if you're in the same boat, or if you're that person. But if you're not that person, right, and you're trying to get to some semblance of understanding and keep moving forward to be able to build even better, make that relationship bond even stronger, right, causes you pause, right? You should really think about it and go from there. Okay? All right, so check this out. what we're gonna do now is talk about what we can start to do when you get to that point to where you feel you are at the understanding of self. And as a matter of fact, let's check where we are right quick. Okay, so we just did that loop, and now we're coming back. Okay. So this is kind of a quick loop, and like I said, trails and therapy. So just want to get out in nature and enjoy. All right, so now we're in an examining of self process and the things that we're going to do to help ourselves and our significant others. Honesty and truth is the best. You should have a type of relationship first off with yourself. This is one thing I tell my kids all the time, is not to lie to yourself, because you will begin to believe them. And it's almost just like manifestation, right? Like a lot of us, we don't understand the power that we have mentally, right, to do and make things happen in our lives, or the power that's involved with the tongue, you know, with your words and what you say. But when you begin to be, I'm gonna use this word, cognizant of that, it can change things in your life. That means you understand it. You're starting to understand your mental power. You're starting to understand the power in the words that you use. And that can take you a long way. Now, the other thing with that is, that can be used how you want to use it. It can be used for good. It can be used for bad. So the first part is understanding what it is, how it's used and can be used, so that, because I always like accountability of self, so that you stay accountable to yourself, because that's key. You need to stay accountable to yourself. That way you can be accountable to other people. So that's one of the first steps you want to do. So now that you're accountable to self and you start this examination process, and now if you're married or in a relationship, you start working on that together, not one-sided, because sometimes people are not ready. I've seen that a lot, even in business, which kind of got me on this journey even deeper when I left the corporate sector. So understanding, man, is, and I call it understanding now because it comes from within. The understanding of within is paramount when making any decisions now for me, because it's in a perpetual state of cause and effect. And see, once you start thinking like this, and you'll start ending up having an analytical mind, which means you'll look at problems from a different perspective. You can backwards plan through them. How you doing? So with that introspection, right, when you start looking at it differently and you backwards plan it, you'll see all those little medians and crossroads, the angles in which to apply the influence, the power, the understanding that you have gained to reach the desired outcome, right? So another big thing is the sharing of power, right? You'll start to have such a powerful understanding, right? And depending on your temperament, right, you'll want others to see it, especially loved ones, spouses, girlfriends, boyfriends, that you'll want to share it. But remember, just like you had to come to the conclusion of understanding of yourself, they had to do the same thing. And then you have that where you start to build together. And that's beautiful. is powerful, and it can make for some beautiful experiences on this planet. As most of you know, currently it's 2025, the beginning of the year, first quarter of the year, and we're kind of going through some turmoil and some differences and some different things. Now, this is not political at all, so I don't care which side you favor or anything of that nature. Just have an understanding of life in general, not only yours, but everyone else's too. Because when you can start to understand others, it'll help you understand yourself. And that's going to be a part of your understanding of self anyway. So maybe you didn't know that before you got on this trail. This trail is going to take you a lot of different places. So here's a little pit stop. You know, as you're on these trails, you might want to cross a couple of these pit stops where you can have bathroom break. I'm sure they got water over there, but we have our own, so we're good. Let's take a moment and enjoy this tree. How long y'all think a tree like this has been on this planet? Look how it's twisted. Awesome. Let's continue. Here's a question for you. Are you defined by your life experiences? That answer, obviously, I think, should be yes, because those experiences are what forms your thoughts, your opinions, your biases, and all. So here's a key. Look over your life experiences, right? Good, bad, or indifferent, and look at some of the other people's life experiences, good, bad, or indifferent. And then ask yourself in all honesty, did their life experiences, to the best of your knowledge, shape where they're at in life? And this is a part of that truth and honesty statement with understanding and understanding. So whatever you start to feel at that moment, do not just let it go. Do not just categorize it or blanket it, but dig into it for understanding. Because I'm telling you right now, we all have a lot of biases that we haven't looked at, discussed, understood where it came from, or any of that. So why not? Right? Because really, if you say, you know, you're living this life and you want to truly experience it, you can't experience it through the lie. You got to experience it in the truth. And reality, as I tell my kids, because there's reality land, as I call it, and then there's fantasy land. Now, a lot of creativity and a lot of things come from fantasy land that gets transformed into reality. Let me explain that. Manifestation, right? Before a chair became a chair, it had to be thought of in someone's mind, right? In someone's mind. And that could be a 2D image, right? 3D image. And as we progress more in science and things of that nature, you know, that'll continue to grow. But it had to come from somewhere, right? So that person who thought of that had to see a need, right? And then thought of how to fulfill the need. And ladies and gentlemen, and if you don't know, that's your value add. So your mental capacity, your ability to think do all that is where your value lies, right? When you find your value, guess what trail you're on then? Your trail of purpose. When you find your purpose, guess where you're on then? Your trail of peace. And that's the trail I like to walk on every single day of my life. So let me go into a little bit about why I left the what some would call the corporate sector to do my own thing. It's not always about money, and I've heard it from a lot of different people, especially those that have done what I have done, who are trying to run businesses, entrepreneurs. It's not always about money. But money is a big factor, and it can be, especially when you talk about running the business, because you have to be able to either sustain your lifestyle, or you didn't really need what you were getting in the first place and you cut back, and now it's just sustaining your mental, right? Because think about this. As creatures, as human beings, we get up every day and we get locked into these routines, right? These routines of work, sleep, sex, whatever, eating, rinse and repeat, day in and day out, until the day where you're unalive in this physical form, in this reality, right? That can get very, very monotonous for a lot of people. Some people may not have. It just depends on your economic ability, right? Some people may not have as much problem with it, but we've seen it across the spectrum, right? Even rich people, billionaires, right? Like, you get more money than you could ever spend, but the drive to continue to make more never goes away. So what does that mean? Should that be examined? And I would say yes, because all things that are happening to you, in you, with you, should be examined. Wow, you can see the water levels got really low. It's almost like a trail going around that bank there, probably from deer. Just gonna hit a circle here, and then we're gonna start making our way back. I just wanted to see what this water looked like back here. The edge of it. Cause I used to get on this lake and come back here with my boat and fish. I've caught a lot of great fish out of this lake. This is our Eagle Mountain Lake, Fort Worth, Texas. All right, so we're on our last leg of the first episode of Trails and Therapy. And I hope you enjoyed it so far. Remember, if you like this type of content, to like, share, and subscribe on this station, which is the Marvel Not Network. And check out some of the other stuff we have, because this is different. This is not a niche bound platform. It's actually a network with a lot of different things, creating a space for content creators out there that don't have a platform, and different things of that nature. So I encourage you to check it out, see what you think as we continue walking the trail. How's it going? Morning, morning. See, you get lost out here, somebody's gonna be around to help you. All right. In the nose, out the mouth. I don't know, somebody came back here throwing toilet paper, that just blew in from somewhere. I don't know what's going on with that. But that's the other thing about nature as well. Cannot stand seeing litter. We have to stop doing that. So, dealing with yourself is a huge priority. We did a community spotlight event in Grand Prairie, Texas, and we was doing some little after show interviews on teen domestic violence, you know, when you're dating. That was a really good focal point for me to be in that spot at that time, because it just gave a little bit more understanding to why it's so important for you to understand yourself, especially before you start doing any kind of dating. So, why? Because when you're experiencing something new, right, it can be overwhelming to you without you really even understanding how overwhelming it can be to you. You can start to take on another person's vibe, their persona, their biases, because you have not formed a basis for yourself yet. And so that's why, you know, I don't really condone early teenage dating. I don't mind the friendships and what's made from it. Morning. But don't really condone it, for the simple fact is you really need to know yourself, right? We all have strengths, we all have weaknesses, so you got to understand that. If you want to put it into some terms, do a SWOT on yourself, right? A SWOT report. If you haven't heard of that, it's a business term or a marketing term. So you can check out your strengths, weaknesses, your opportunities, and the threats, right? And your threats can be other people and their biases, how they feel about things, how they feel about other people, right? So you have to understand all of that, because you could get to know a person too fast, if you know what I mean. And next thing you know, you're finding out all these other things after the fact. So as a parent, right, as a person that's lived on this planet for at least 50 years, I would like to be able to spare you some of that heartache and hardship by just a little advice that I hope makes sense and is logical to you. All right, going uphill. Morning, morning.
Morning.
Okay, we're on the last leg, so if you're still with me, we're almost there. And if you don't have the areas to do this kind of stuff at, and you really do want to, you know, you want to have that feeling, maybe pull up a treadmill in front of your TV or cell phone, or walk in place. It's really good exercise. And not only for the body, but also for the mind. And we are back at the beginning of our journey now. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning, how we doing? All right, all right. All right, so we're back. I know it's a little windy. Hopefully you guys get to hear me throughout this recording. But just want to say thanks again for joining me on Trails and Therapy. My name is Kevin Shaw, and I'll see you soon.